Okay, so I'm going to assume that you have maybe just started your jiu-jitsu journey or you're about to get ready to start your jiu-jitsu journey. And this video is going to try to help you understand just some of the basic fundamental positions of jiu-jitsu. And we'll talk about some basic objectives. We're going to keep this at a very high level, so we're not going to, as far as more of a macro idea, right? So we're not going to go into much detail for you right now. What we want to do is help you just to understand, like, okay, if you're in this spot, what should you do, or what are your basic ideas, okay? And then as you get through more classes, you'll start to figure out some more details that you can get into. So without further ado, let's get started on it. And the first thing we're going to start here, Felix, can you just go onto your back, please? Face your guard towards me. Okay. So you'll often find yourself in a position here where your partner is going to face his feet towards you. Okay, so it's going to be like this here. He's facing his feet towards you. He's trying to maintain some distance here, okay? This is a position right now that we call the guard. And more specifically, right now, we're in a position we call the open guard, meaning his guard is open, it's not closed around me. And it could be in a many different orientations. He could wrap his legs around me from this side. He could put both legs inside. He could wrap a leg around me here. These are all forms of open guard, okay? When we're in open guard, our objective as a top player is simply to get past his guard, okay? Or get past his legs, right? Now, we can divide his legs into feet, knees, hips, right? I need to get past the feet, then I need to get past the knees, then I get past or to the hips here, and now we can control this. Now, once I get past this section here, you've essentially passed his legs, okay? And now it's just a matter of trying to lower your level and get down to a pinning position. We'll talk more about all the steps that you need to pass the guard in class or maybe even a future video. But for now, I just want you to understand, if I'm out here and his legs are facing me, okay, I need to get past these legs. Another type of guard is a closed guard. And this is maybe where I'm down in my knees here, and now he's wrapped his legs around me, okay? In here, we're going to call this closed guard. Now, your sole objective as the top player from this position is to simply open his guard. So maybe I can stand up, can get the legs off me, and now I've opened his guard, and look where we're at. We're right back into open guard. So technically, we'll never try to pass a closed guard, because if the guard is closed, we can't just pass through the legs. We must open the legs, and that gets us back into here. So you really just have to understand, how is it, or what do I need to do really in this position? And it's to pass his legs. Now we can also talk about the bottom player at the same time here. So Felix has his legs in front of me. What is his goal from here? Well, it's a few things actually, okay? One, he doesn't want me to get past his legs. It's a zero-sum game. If I want to get past his legs as a top player, he wants to stop me from being able to achieve my objective. So as a bottom player, he's keeping his legs in front of me, okay? Other things he might want to do. Well, he might want to become the top player. So maybe he wraps his legs inside somehow, maybe grabs the ankles, he rolls and becomes the top player. That's a good objective for him. Now he's become the top player. Now we've exchanged roles, okay? One other objective for the bottom player, okay? One is to go ahead and knock me down, become the top player. Another one is he may want to submit me. Can you hit me with an arm bar or something? Here, maybe he gets my arm inside this position, he lifts his hip a little bit, makes me tap, okay? That's another thing. So if you think about it, the top player has one objective, and that's to pass the legs. Of course, if I'm in the closed guard as I am now, I need to open the legs first, and then I can pass them. The bottom player's objective, either sweep me, which means get on top of me, or submit me, make me tap. So when you're in these positions, just think of those ideas, and then you can learn, after you know what to do, you can learn how to do it. The next position we're going to talk about here is another form of guard, which we call half guard. Now, half guard simply means that he has one of my legs stuck in between his legs here, so he's trapping my legs, so I cannot freely move. Yep, keep it trapped. So I cannot freely move here, okay? In jiu-jitsu, we call this half guard, all right? The objectives for the bottom player here are very similar, okay? The bottom player wants to possibly become the top player. Hit a knee lever for me. All right, he's become the top player now. That's his objective, one of his objectives from the bottom. Another objective for the bottom player here is to actually put me back inside more of a better open guard or a closed guard position. So maybe he puts his knees back in front, creates some frames, puts me back in front of his legs, and now he's made me regress my position, so I've moved backwards. All right, he's back into a guard, and now he goes back into the same objectives he had for an open guard or a closed guard, okay? As the top player, I have one main objective here, and that is to free my leg from his, okay? So the way we do it is just free your knee first and then free your foot. So maybe it looks something like this. And now I'm past his legs. I could end up in this position here, on the side here. Either one would be fine. We've now entered pinning positions. Right here, you're gonna see another type of guard. This guard here that Felix has chosen to take is called a turtle guard. Now, why did he do this? It was simply because in jiu-jitsu, especially in a competitive setting, if I pass his legs, I would actually be awarded 3 points. Now, in a competitive setting, what the bottom player might do is turn to this turtle guard. What happened now is even though I passed his legs, I wasn't able to control him as I passed the legs for more than 3 seconds. He turned to this position, which did expose his back, so there's a bit of a risk to it. However, it avoided him getting scored on or me earning 3 points. So now we end up in turtle guard here, okay? From this position, we'll talk about the bottom player first. He's almost completely defensive from here. Now, some advanced players may use this position to actually attack from, but at the fundamental level, we really want to see this position as a very temporary guard and something that we want to get back into some form of better guard, like a closed guard or some kind of open guard, where he's facing me again. Right now, like in an MMA situation, or even jiu-jitsu when I can strangle him from the back, this could be fairly dangerous for him. So one thing he might want to do is turn back by doing some kind of roll where he can get back to his guard. Go ahead and roll over the shoulder. So he rolls back, puts his legs back in front of me, and now we're back inside his open guard, or maybe even he gets me into his closed guard. That could be one great option for him, okay? Now, he could also become the top player. There are some things we could do that he could take advantage of with me. I guess we can do an example here where maybe, let's come back a little bit. Maybe I'm up here, I reach around my arm too much, he captures my elbow, and then he does a roll over the shoulder, and here he puts me back into the bottom position, so he's become the top player. So that might be another goal that you could have. So if, as the bottom player, if you could think about, if you're in the bottom turtle position, at the fundamental level, either try to get back to your guard into a closed guard or a full guard, or see if you can become the top player, because that'd be a great option as well. Now, as a top player, I have a couple goals. One, I could try to gain a more positional advantage, okay? So for example, maybe I'm right here. What I can do is maybe open up the legs. I get a hook inside here, which we call just bringing my foot across and inside his leg here. From here, I could do some kind of method where I roll him over. And from here, we end up in his back, okay? This would be me just gaining a more positional advantage, moving to a more superior position right here. Another option you could have from this top position is I could go straight into submissions. For example, because he's wearing a gi, and that gi has lapels, if I can connect to those lapels, I can wrap them around his neck and move into strangulation. So for example, I could reach around underneath, take a little grip here, take a grip on the other side of the lapel, and now I could move into a position we call the clock choke. And from that position, I could actually make him tap. If he didn't tap, he would actually go to sleep. So like in jiu-jitsu, we like to say tap or take a nap. And that's why the strangulations are actually superior as far as submissions go. So in this position, you do have an opportunity to go right for a submission, and we could finish and end the fight right there. Okay, so we talked about a lot of guard positions, the open guard, the closed guard, the half guard, and the turtle guard, which are fundamental positions that we'll play in jiu-jitsu. Now we're going to talk about pinning. So really, we can look at jiu-jitsu as really being in two states, right? We have guarded positions and pinning positions. Okay, so now we're getting into our pinning positions. We're just going to go over the basics of the pinning positions. We're not going to talk too much detail, but I'm just going to give you the positions that you'll see a lot in fundamentals class, so you have an idea of when you're in this position, whether you're the bottom player or the top player, what is it that you're supposed to be trying to do? Let's talk first an example of what we call side control or side body, which is when I'm on the side of my partner like this. Now, obviously, I'm not pinning him if I'm not holding him, okay? But just to talk from this position, we're in a side body position or side control. From here, what I'm trying to do is get separation of his knees and elbows, and I'm trying to get more into this chest-to-chest type of position here, okay? From here, my objectives are, well, A, I need to understand how to hold this person here for an extended period of time. As a beginning student, one of your first goals should be, once you get to a pin, to maintain that pin as long as possible. This is a skill that requires time and patience and lots of volume of training to get good at, so you can become efficient at it. Okay, so the longer you can hold somebody in a pin position, the more likely you'll find those submissions later. So in the fundamentals, we focus a lot more on positional control. And then once you have good positional control, then you can start focusing more on your submissions. All right, so side control, the top player. Number one goal, this is your first objective that you should learn how to do, is try to hold this person here as long as you possibly can. The second goal is I want to be able to progress my position, okay? Which means, okay, I'm in side control, but from side control, I want to be able to move to the other pins, okay? We'll first talk about a pretty quick one that can be used as a temporary pin, and that's what we call the knee on belly, okay? So when we put our knee up on the belly here, we're pinning them in more this upright position. You'll see my other foot's kind of out here for balance, and I'm upright, and now I can use this position to attack him from a more upright position. In competitive jiu-jitsu, this will actually score 2 points. Now, why do we have the point system in jiu-jitsu, and why does it matter, especially if you're not even interested in competing? Because these points were designed based on fighting, okay? The points that score the most are because you've become in a dominant position even if strikes were allowed, okay? Now, in jiu-jitsu, we don't do strikes, but we can implement jiu-jitsu with striking, and that's pretty much what you call MMA today, okay? So when we're in a position like this, we want to learn how to control them. We actually get awarded 2 points because it's a pretty good spot, especially if strikes were allowed. I can use it to generate some more power of my body to start separating limbs, but it only scores 2 points because it's a little unstable. I can easily get pushed off, so I might fall over into these positions here. So while it does score, it's not the greatest scoring because of the instability of it, okay? And as you've seen, I didn't have a ton of control over him. He can easily push my knee off, or he could even move away, okay? Now another position you might move yourself into is this position right here. In this position here, we call the mount position. Now this position here scores 4 points, okay? Why? You can see it's a very stable position. I'm on top. I could do a lot of damage. I can generate a lot of force. I can start separating limbs. This is a great position to be in. And some people would consider this the best position in jiu-jitsu, okay? I'm past his legs. I'm on top of him. He's dealing with my body weight. He's dealing with gravity right now. And from here, I can go through a plethora of submissions, especially when he's wearing a gi. So another position that I could progress to from the side control that could be better and much better than the side control actually is to take his back. Now, to take his back, I'm going to have to create some kind of reaction or some way for him to expose his back, because as a bottom player, he definitely does not want his back taken. And you'll see that he has his back right now hidden by the mat. So I need to somehow get him turned around so I can start looking at his back. If I can see his back, I can take his back, okay? Now, he's not going to just let me just turn him over like that or anything. I'm going to have to create some kind of reaction. For now, what I'll do is I'll just take both my arms here, push his hand down on the mat, and now he understands that there is a submission threat here, so sometimes what they'll do is they'll turn a little bit to help protect his hand, and that creates this little reaction where I can start exposing his back now. Now from here, I could just pull him, and now I have his back. So we think about the chest being to the back, I'm secured to him, getting him nice and tight here. And this would be what we actually call the summit, which we'll talk a little bit later on what we can do from this position, okay? So again, from side control, we could either go to the mount position, that's a progression, or we could go to the back position, which is another progression. Now the back, just so you're aware, the back could also be where I get him to turn completely and I stay on top of him and I ride him in this position as well. This is also a very dominant position for me to be into. It's very good control. Still the back, just another look at the back, because the back can either be with our bellies facing up or our bellies facing down, okay? So from any pin position, we're typically going to have the opportunity to progress to a better position, or we can go for a submission. So you've seen us go to the belly or go on top of the belly, which is the mounted position or top mount. And we also had the back position where you took the back, which is really the ultimate flanking position. Something else we could also do from this position here is go for a submission. So for example, let's say that I go for the same exact type of submission that I used to set up the reaction to give me his back. This time he doesn't really, maybe he doesn't believe I have a threat there. He doesn't react to it. So as I come down and push his hand down, he doesn't reach in and I'm able to block him here. I can come up underneath. From here, I pull here, up, and I get him to tap, okay? That's a submission we call the Americana. It's a very common submission that we can use as you learn submissions. Of course, there's many other submissions, but we'll talk about those in later videos. Now, as the bottom player, there's a couple things you want to do if you're thinking fundamental level. Like, number one, the best option for you from here is to be able to connect your knee and elbow together so I can no longer hold you down and then move away from me or move away from the top player and put me back into guard. This is actually your number one option, okay? And I say number one because it's the most effective option. You do have another option, however, it can be quite difficult, especially going against higher level grapplers or more experienced grapplers. For example, you could also become the top player. So maybe I overcommit my weight a little bit. You roll over here and now you're the top player. This could be a great option, although a bit more difficult to do this. Okay, now you found yourself in this top mount position, okay? What we refer to as mount typically, or sometimes you'll hear it as top mount. Now the top mount position, you're in a dominant position right now if you're the top player, okay? I'm completely offensive, while the bottom player is completely defensive. So everything the bottom player is trying to do right now is to escape from this position. And the top player's objectives are one of two things. You're either trying to submit the bottom player, all right, you get them to quit, right, say uncle, or you're gonna progress your position, okay? Now really from the mount, there's only one way to progress your position, and that's by exposing the back and taking the back. So for example, maybe I get him to react to another Americana style pin here, we can turn him, and now I can go ahead and expose and start taking the back here where I'm starting to get behind him, put me in a much more dominant position, okay? So another thing, of course, I could do from this top position, in any pin we have, there's going to be submission opportunities. For here, we're just going to go into an armbar just to show you a quick example. So anytime I can get the elbows up over the shoulders here, I can start pinching my knees up high, I can start accessing the arms where I start switching, and now we can go ahead and just hold this arm here. Now, the armbar works by just coming across here. I create a fulcrum point on my hips, slowly extend the arm, making sure I give my partner time to tap, and then we win that position by submitting him with an armbar. Okay, so the bottom player here has simple objectives. They need to escape. There is no submission here. He doesn't want to reach up and grab my lapel. It'd be impossible for him to try to armbar me here. The only objective for the bottom player is to escape the position. There's two main ways to do that. One, he can try to put me back inside his guard. Go ahead. He's going to use his elbows and knees together here, puts me back inside all the way to his closed guard here. Now, if you watch carefully, you would have seen that he put me into half guard, and then open guard, and then closed guard. So if you paid attention, you'd see us actually progress through each one of those positions he did. He just did them pretty quickly, okay? Okay, another thing that the bottom player could do is become the top player. And this is easier, like especially if I was maybe down in a bottom position or I had my arm trapped by him, he could easily trap my arm, trap my leg, and roll over here and become the top player, okay? I highly suggest you get really good at the first one, which is putting them back into guard, because this one might seem like a better option, but it actually is quite difficult to pass someone's legs, so it's almost better if you put them inside your legs. So now we find ourselves on the back. Now, the back is a little unique because we consider it the summit of all the positions. I mean, you've basically climbed to the top of the mountain. It's the best position that, in our opinion, you can get. It's the ultimate flanking position. All of his defense is facing this way. I'm attacking him from behind. Imagine you in a boxing match and your opponent was facing the other way. Well, in jiu-jitsu, it's very similar. Everything's facing away from me. It becomes much easier to get the submission from here. Okay. Since there's no real better position I can go to, almost everything here is going to be about the submission. We're trying to finish from the back. So if you get to the back, our mantra is, if you get to the back, stay on the back, okay? Don't lose it. So everything should be about maintaining this position, maintaining control, and going for a submission. Since there is no positions to progress to, I'm just gonna show you a quick submission. The nice thing is, when you're wearing a uniform like this, he basically has a rope around his neck, okay? If I can get attached to that rope with my fingers here, I can attach to the other side. I can do a little quick switch here, and now I can start extending him and getting strangulation by cutting off both carotids using his own gi, okay? So if you can figure out how to get to the back, you want to stay on the back, and if you can stay on the back, you want to look for submissions, both strangulations, there's arm lock submissions, all sorts of stuff you get to understand here. At Renzo Gracie, we really love the back, so we'll spend a lot of time practicing that as you progress in your jiu-jitsu journey. Now from the back, the player in the front has really one simple goal. Well, first they have to defend their neck, right? So they're gonna have to have defensive hands in place to make sure they're not getting strangled, because if they're getting strangled, they're not gonna be able to escape the position. So he's gonna make sure he defends himself, make sure he keeps everything tight so I can't try to peel his arms away from him or anything. But his main goal after this, positionally, is to try to get his chest to face my chest. Remember, I'm in the ultimate flanking position. I'm behind him. He wants to make sure he can face me so he can see me, because if he can't look at me, he can't attack me, okay? Now he's gonna show you a quick escape just to get to chest to chest. Nice, so he actually got to a really great position there where he not only got chest to chest, but he switched it from me being in an offensive position and him being in a defensive position, and he went all the way to where he was in an offensive position, and now I'm in a bottom pin, which is a defensive position, meaning he's now on the attack, and I'm on the run. Now, that was a quick overview of many of the basic positions. We haven't talked about all the positions. For example, there's a front headlock position that we'll play often here as well, but I wanted to give you some of the early positions you're gonna see when you come into a class. And so you have a basic idea, if you're put into a position, what your objectives are. And that'll help you understand too as I'm teaching you, or one of the coaches here is teaching you those positions. If you have any questions, just try to make a comment below. We'll try to get back to your questions, or even better, just come into class, talk with the coaches here, and we're gonna help you. Okay, here at Renzo Gracie Ponce, this is not a fight club. What we're doing is teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We are Jiu-Jitsu specialists. We're here to help you learn Jiu-Jitsu. We don't expect you to know what you're doing when you come to us. So I hope to see you soon. Okay, if you're already a student, make sure you're training consistently so you can learn all these positions and get really good at them.